everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a new copy of Parks Nightfall, an expansion to the highly acclaimed Parks base game by Keymaster Games. Parks Nightfall expansion adds more park cards with new actions, New Year cards, increasing scoring opportunities, and awesome ways to explore more wildlife. The new park cards finishes the set of the remaining parks that were missing from the base game to have the entire set of parks and art from the 59 Parks print series. Now, here are 5 things you need to know about this expansion. You ready? Number 1, new park cards. So there are 24 new park cards that you can visit, from the high mountains of Denali in Alaska to one of the hottest, lowest, driest places, Death Valley in California and Nevada, to even the most recent White Sands in New Mexico that was established December 20th of 2019. All these new 24 park cards are a little bit different from the base game because most of them give you less overall points, but they also include instant actions that can be performed, some by paying a shown resource and others for free. Some of these actions include things like reserving an extra park or taking an additional photo, gaining the camera, or even copying an action from the trail. And the other thing that these 24 cards include that the others in the base game don't are many of these parks are more flexible as they require at times any 2 resources, any 3 resources, or any 4 resources to be used in combination with the one shown. Now the game suggests mixing in these new 24 cards with 24 randomly chosen parks from the base game to give a better distribution of these newer options. Number 2, the New Year cards. So, the base game included year cards that could grant players 2 to 3 extra points when fulfilling its requirement. This seemed like a lot of work for such a little amount of points, and at times, some were just hard to do. So, the expansion revamped the year cards, and now they made them so they give players better opportunities to score more points. Changing the game slightly as decisions players make in the game will most likely change. These year cards also don't cap off the points, so players can keep fulfilling requirements, scoring more and more points. Now, my favorite part of these cards is actually they all have a theme to them, connecting them to the outdoors that you might be doing in these parks that you're visiting. And the last thing to say about them is with the expansion, there are ways to gain more of these year cards to score the listed possible points while you're playing throughout the game, not just the ones that you start with. Number 3, the wildlife tokens. It is also suggested that these now count whenever there is a brown square with a number 2, so these wilds can now in some cases give you an additional resource, so they can count as 2 resources. This could happen when visiting one of the new park cards or taking photos on the trail. This also can change your strategy just a tad as the value of a wild increases just a bit. Number 4, camping. Tents will be added to the trail tiles during setup in the game. When a player visits a tile with their hiker that has a tent, then they have 2 options. They can either perform the tile as usual, taking its action and the weather token if available, or they can remove the tent from the tile and place it on an available campsite on the campsite board and take its listed action. Let's check out some of these new actions. So I mentioned being able to get more year cards. This action lets you do that by turning in 3 suns, drawing 2 year cards, and then from all the year cards that you have, you place 1 back at the bottom of this deck. This one is you turn in a mountain and you gain 5 suns. Turn in a forest and gain 5 water. Turn in a forest to take a photo. Or turn in a mountain to take a photo. These photo actions can also be performed 2 times on a turn. You can also turn in a water to gain a wildlife, or turn in a sun to gain a wildlife. These wildlife actions can be performed up to 3 times on a turn. This one lets you gain a canteen and a water, and this one lets you move all your water tokens from your field canteens to the supply and then gain 1 water. This one lets you discard a card, a gear or a year card, to take the top card of either the gear or year deck. These don't need to match each other either, so you can discard a gear to get a year card or vice versa. This one lets you turn in 2 sun to discard the 3 gear cards currently available, and then you can place out new ones and take one for free. This one lets you take a water, then reserve a park, and then relight your campfire. And lastly, this one's very similar to the last. Gain a sun, reserve a park, and relight your campfire. If you were bummed that there are no new tiles in the game, well, there are. It just uses this camping mechanic instead of adding tiles to the main trail. There also is enough tents that the camping will be used, and it almost makes like there's 2 paths in a way, with one being important for the hiker as you can't go in reverse. It kind of keeps order, and players use their campfire when landing on a tile another hiker is on, but the other tiles give those additional actions without messing up the worker placement aspect of the trail. So just come on and take a rest camping in or near one of the national parks. It will surely be worth it. Number 5. How do these additions change the game? With the combination of all the additions that this expansion adds, you will be getting more resources throughout each season, scoring more points from the year cards, making harder decisions as to what trail tile to visit, including making the decision to camp at a campsite or to take the normal action on the trail. And lastly, being able to visit all national parks and seeing the beauty in them. So pack up your backpacks, fill up your canteens, and don't forget to bring a tent with your family and friends in Parks Nightfall by Keymaster Games. Again, this is Boardgame Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.